Welcome to Made in Ely, where we chat to local business owners about what they're building and how they're doing it, recorded here at Ely Work Collective. Today's guest is Scott Colling from the Ely Computer Centre. Hi, Scott.
Okay.
So first of all, tell us who you are, where you are, and what you do in Ely.
Hi, James. Thank you for having me.
A pleasure.
So I am the owner and managing director of the Ely Computer Centre. What do we do? I mean, it kind of does what it says on the tin, right? So we work on computers. We sell new computers. We sell refurb computers. We repair them. That's 90% of the business. There's a few other things where, we go out and visit people. We do local talks, kind of things like that. But yeah, generally the majority of the business is all around selling new and refurb machines, laptops, computers, custom builds. There's a direct split between what I would class as a normal user and a gamer. Gamers with their big flashy builds, which is always fun to do. But yeah, so that's the kind of the crux of what we're doing.
Cool. And so obviously, for people who don't know you, you've obviously come from a bit of a different background. Just kind of the short version first, how did you get into this and kind of what made you want to start Ely Computer Centre and kind of go down that path from where you were previously?
Yeah, so it's kind of a whistle-snap tour of my career. So I started my career in a computer shop, very similar to the one that I now own, on Mill Road in Cambridge. Back when I was 16, 17, and that's kind of where I first started learning the formal way of dealing with computers. Prior to that, I'd just been very much a hobbyist. Right. And then from there, kind of worked my way up. I think the most significant one is I spent 10 years with Vodafone in their IT sales area. My last position with them there was the global head of acquisition, so a very large role which had me traveling all around the world and dealing with large blue chip companies. And then my final role before I decided that the corporate world wasn't for me anymore, shall we say. I was the UK sales director for the world's largest AI testing company, which was a very interesting role, but it kind of secured the point that actually I had outgrown what I was doing within the corporate world and just wanted to do something different, and really, kind of take a bit of control of things, I suppose, is the easiest way of talking about it.
Okay. So to kind of make that leap, if you will, was there like a final eureka moment where you were like, this has been great, or maybe not so great, I don't know, or you were just like, now is the time to stop doing that and really follow what I want to do and start this business?
I think there's two sides to it. So the first one is I think corporate world is a really nice, safe place to grow. Mm. So when you're starting your career, there's generally a load of people there who will kind of guide and potentially mentor you to be able to become a bigger and better version of your work self.
Yeah.
What they don't do is obviously have much conscious thought of your personal self, right? And I think over time, particularly as you get more and more senior in a corporate environment, you have to start deciding whether that's the person you are, right? And that's the person you want to be.
Yeah.
Do you want to be that person who kind of lives that whole corporate lifestyle? And for some people, that it is. For me, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I struggled, particularly as I got more and more senior roles, to feel my moral alignment to the way corporate world works.
Yeah.
And I think, as I said, 10 years with Vodafone, a great 10 years. I loved most of it. Yeah. But in the end, I kind of thought, like Vodafone's changed. It's not for me. And then I moved to Qualitest, the AI company.
Yeah.
And I realized it was nothing to do with Vodafone. There was nothing wrong with Vodafone. It was just the fact that it was corporate life.
Yeah.
Right. Because the same things that I disliked at Vodafone when I was at Qualitest was exactly the same things I didn't like, right?
Yeah.
And I think, as I say, that's one side of it. But the other side of it to me was having kids made me realize that work-life balance needed to shift. Yeah. And I think as you become more senior in a corporate environment, actually that takes more of your personal life.
I can get that, yeah.
Right. And when you kind of bring those two things together, it's not necessarily a big, this happened and that made me want to go. It was just moreover the fact that I wanted to be spending more time at home and less focus on the corporate life as it was. And corporate life wanted more and more out of me, and asking me to do things which wasn't necessarily wrong or immoral or anything like that. It's not a big, bad, scary wolf type of thing.
Just not what you want to do.
Yeah, but just not the way I wanted to live.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it needed a big change.
Yeah.
And I kind of just thought to myself, like, take the leap, because the worst imaginable thing is I have to go back.
Yeah, exactly. It's been the same here for us. It's, we spent 8 months building this, and it was very much if it all goes horribly wrong, we've got 25 years experience behind us. Yeah. We can always turn around and go back. But it's what we want to do and how we want to live and the life we want to build for ourselves. And that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. And then obviously the computer side of things, like you said, you started off there back when you were kind of first working and everything. So was that always what you thought? So back when you're working at Vodafone, you're thinking, one day I think I might be leaving this and doing my own thing. Because everyone's got that idea, whether they want to open a restaurant or open a pub or start their own design business. Was this always going to be what you think you were going to do?
Yeah, and it was really interesting. And one of my old colleagues who I still speak to, a guy called Steve Williams, who I've spoken to again very recently, mostly because he runs a custom built PC. But but putting that to the side, I remember speaking to him about a year before I left Vodafone and said, I'm not sure what I'm going to do in the future. I'm highly tempted just to leave and open a computer shop. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I left a year later, tried something else, spent a year there, and then literally left and opened a computer shop. Yeah. So yeah, that was always if I'm going to do something else, that's what I'm going to do. I'm kind of going to go back to the roots and just build.
Cool. And then getting off the ground with that, how has the journey been? And kind of when you first say you handed your notice in, you knew it was going to happen, you then got this plan. What were kind of the initial hurdles, if you will, that kind of came up where you were like, I hadn't thought about this?
I think the hardest thing to begin with was finding somewhere to do it from. So I left and kind of did it from home for a bit. I mean, it's funny when you describe doing it from home. What you actually mean is doing it from somebody else's home, right?
Yeah.
So going out and doing visits, right? So going to see customers and, doing as much as you can over what is quite now, when I look back on it, quite a restricted audience on social media, right? Because although everybody kind of says, social media is the be-all and end-all and everybody's on there, actually it's, when you're advertising a business, it's really not. You kind of need other people to help, right?
Exactly,
And I think, getting out there, doing things, obviously I created my own website nice and quickly, did my own social media pages nice and quickly. It's all tech stuff, right? So that's easy for me, right? I don't worry about that, right? But actually getting the bookings and then making the first leap, right? And the first leap to having the shop came kind of just by chance, right? And the little journey was, I had a load of leaflets printed. I decided to go and give those leaflets to all of the independent businesses on the high street. And one of those independent businesses referred me to Barry Lonsdale, who owned at the time Cloisters Antiques, which is on who was the shop next to me, right? And also owned the shop.
Yeah.
And I went in to see Barry, and Barry's retired now, and the shop is no longer there. But I walked in, said who I was, what I was doing. He was like, "Fantastic! I need a new printer. Can you help me with a new printer?" Yeah, of course I can. Like, what do you want, right? And had a new printer for him the next day, right? And he was like, "Wow, that's amazing! I have an existing IT guy who I asked a month ago." Right, for a printer. And you gave me this next day. And he was like, "Tell me more about it. What's your plans? What are you doing next?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm looking for a unit." And he's like, "I've got this space next door that I'm just using for storage.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Are you interested?" And I was like, "Well, how big is it? What has it got?" And he's like, and he just handed me the key.
Wow.
"Go and open it. Go and have a look." And I walked back in and I was like, "That's amazing. Let's do a deal." And we did a deal there and then, right? And if it wasn't for Barry, I don't know how much longer it would have taken. Because I think the one thing that, although everybody kind of looks at Ely and says, "Oh, there's loads of empty shops," actually the reality is for a new business who want low costs,
Yeah,
and
it's those rates
all
and
of those
everything else are
things.
just, yeah.
It's really scary, right?
Yeah.
It's really scary to take that first leap into, okay, I'm now going to sign a contract where I'm committed to spending this money, and am I actually going to make that money? Are people going to walk through my door,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah.
But he did a good job of A, giving me the confidence, and B, giving me a space to do it in, right? And obviously I'm still there now, right? I'm
Yeah.
still trading. Lots of people now know where I am.
Yeah, of course, that is a great spot as well, right? Opposite the Lamb Hotel.
Yeah.
It's, you've got perfect footfall and everything else, haven't you, really, where you are?
Exactly.
Without the downside of being
And I think,
on the high street, isn't it,
yeah.
I suppose?
I think there's a huge trust thing as well. I found a very significant difference to the response for customers when you go from saying, yeah, I operate from home and I'll come round yours and fix your machine, or I'll come and collect your machine and then take it back to my house to do it, versus, okay, yeah, come to the shop. We have a physical location. Here's where we are. Here's our telephone number, right? Proper 01353 telephone number.
Yeah.
Like, that just adds so much trust and credibility to the message.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. I suppose that's, it's a similar story, that the whole location thing and premises bit. That was, well, as you know from kind of telling you about this place and the fact that we were meant to be somewhere completely different, it is not as straightforward as people think of just finding a shop and going, right, let's have a chat, let's get the keys, let's go in. And I mean, we learned so much about lease agreements and everything and all the kind of really boring stuff that we didn't expect before. For us, it was we didn't realise at the start that we had to write our own proposal. We assumed it was like renting a house. You turn up, you meet the landlord, they go, it costs this much a month. What do you want to do there? We tell them and they go, perfect. Here's your contract, pays your deposit, here are your keys. And when we found out that I was, oh no, we need to work out what we want to get out of the place, how we want to use it, what our terms want to be. And then it starts that whole negotiation. I mean, that's one of the reasons why it took us so long at the start to kind of even get the first premises sorted, because this is the third place that we looked at that we finally ended up here, and it was a headache.
Yeah.
But it's all worked out for the best, and we're in a place that we love now.
Yeah. And I think that's, the kind of point on there as well is local landlords.
Yeah.
Right? Both of us have local landlords.
Exactly.
And the landlord is taking a chance on you when you're a new business.
Yeah.
Right. And some landlords will just, and I certainly saw this before I'd had my conversation with Barry. I would approach rental agents and say, hey, it's a new business, and instantly get we're not accepting new businesses.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you were doing, there was no chance to even say what business you were going to be.
Yeah.
And that's a shame.
Yeah.
That's a difficult thing, but again, that's where, local ownership, local business, local independence, regardless of the size, that's what really builds it.
Yeah. And that's what's fundamentally, I think, causing the decline of the high street and town centres, is that, because even if you're not a new business, but you're a small local business, you've already got that obstacle of getting your foot in the door with those places if you want to expand, for instance, because it just takes someone as a part of a chain that's got, millions of pounds of money and budget to spend on these things, a huge, nationwide brand, to walk in, and the landlord's going to go, yeah, that's more secure, that's safer, and everything else. And it's, I understand it from a risk perspective, but also, like you said, I think if they were local landlords, which 9 out of 10 they're not, that's the obstacles that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So stepping away from kind of the location side of things, what other obstacles did you encounter kind of early on that you may not have expected or budgeted or anticipated, should we say, at the start of Ely Computer Centre?
Yeah, I mean, I think luckily, because of some of the things which I did within corporate world, I was able to predict a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right. And actually, I was able to bring supplier relationships with me, right, which was great. Certain processes are incredibly difficult. Things like opening a business bank account, just ridiculously arduous for absolutely no logical reason, right?
Yeah.
There are things which are naturally hard to do when just being a small business. But again, I think I had the luck on my side that I knew a lot of the commercial, financial, marketing side of things from my background, but I'd also learned during my corporate career, know what you're not good at. Yeah. So the first thing I did was sign on with an accountancy firm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I knew I might be able to fumble my way through it, but I didn't want to fumble my way through it. Right?
Yeah.
It's important.
That's it. If there's something that you can pay someone to do better, that especially with accounting as well, that's such a crucial part of running your business. Then we learn that here as well. Is it? We know what we can do. We could paint the walls, we could fit the panels, we can deal with the marketing, but same story. Money's not our strong point. We know how to use it and how to spend it, but it was the tax side of things, I think, was our biggest concern. It was that, after your first year getting hit with this massive bill and being like, oh, I hadn't thought about this and things.
Yeah. And it's kind of, I think it's always things like that. Like the little, giving them a little shout out, Whitings, who are my accountant. Like, I remember hearing years ago about how, accountants should pay for themselves, right? Essentially, whatever they charge you, by the end of it, you should be better off than if you hadn't done it. And,
exactly.
I think from my experience with Whitings, absolutely that, right? They have so much experience and insight into things that I would never be able to think of, particularly when it comes to your annual return.
Yeah.
That there's no doubt in my mind that, outsourcing that has gained me money rather than trying to do it myself and probably doing it quite badly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of things like that. Those are the harder things, right? And the things you've got to be prepared to do. But again, there are other people who've kind of helped me in the background as well. Who kind of made sure I was ticking the right boxes and kind of doing things like that, right? So again, your network is just so important.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah.
Okay. And then kind of on the other side of things, with the obviously, what is a good time of year and what is a bad time of year for you? Kind of how do you mitigate those bad times and kind of make hay in the good times?
So, when it's busy, right? And it feels great when it's busy because you're sat there going, right, I'm busy, I'm clearly making money and things are going well. But you're also conscious of all the things that you want to do that you can't.
Yeah.
And that's where actually, particularly, although I'm IT, it's more of a retail kind of consumer confidence side of things. And obviously so far this year, right, with energy prices, food prices, the war, petrol price, like all of these things, right, consumer confidence is at all-time low at the moment.
Yeah, it's kind of perfect storm, isn't it, unfortunately?
Yeah. So I kind of really lean into that and go, right, what are all these things that I really want to do that I haven't had the time to do when it's been busy, right? And again, that's because, when you're a business owner, you're, for me as an example, I arrive at the shop nice and early and I put my first hat on, which is a cleaner, right? And then I put my second hat on and do some paperwork. And then I put my third hat on and maybe do a repair before I open, right?
Yeah, it all sounds very familiar. So.
Exactly, right? All of these different things that you kind of become. So there are inevitably a list of things you want to do that you can't, right? You just don't find the time to do. They're not necessarily... You end up having to prioritize other things, right? And sometimes that prioritization is your family. And that's also the right thing to do, right? So when it's quiet, I really lean into it, right? I really kind of go, right, where's this list of things that I've wanted to do that I haven't been able to do, right? And some of them seem like really small, menial things, and some of them are kind of bigger marketing strategies and kind of things like that. Yeah. But again, I think it's always good because, from a thinking time perspective, when you're busy, you don't get much thinking time, you don't get much doing time. So you kind of have to just, really lean into the fact that you've now got some time available and do the things that you don't want to do and have the confidence in your business model that it'll come back.
Yeah.
And it always does.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember my first year when I started experiencing the kind of retail up and down nature roller coaster of
Yeah.
busyness and not, right? And again, I really like. And again, I'm going to keep touching on kind of people in and around me, but like, so shops around me. You've got Steve's Shack, what I call Steve's Sweet Shop, which is 1A St Mary's. Barry, when he was there in Cloisters Antiques. I've got Hattie's Ice Cream Shop next to me, the Barbers, and then where I get my coffee every morning from Prospects Unwrapped, right? And I talk to those people every day.
Yeah.
And speaking to them and also getting are you also quiet? Are you also busy? What's going on with you?
Yeah.
That gives you a lot of confidence, particularly when it's completely different industries. Like if the Barbers turn around to me when I'm quiet and say, yeah, we're also quiet, I'm like, okay, that's consumer confidence, right? That's people hanging on to do things a little bit later just to help their own cash flow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think you lean into it, you use the time where you can, and you speak to others to make sure that actually you keep that confidence in the fact that you're doing the right thing and it's not just you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because on the flip side, what are the kind of the best bits about it? What do you love about what you do? What do you love about where you are? Yeah, kind of those best moments for you so far as well.
I think, and it kind of comes to what surprises me as well. And I have to say it's my customers.
Yeah.
Right. And it sounds really cliche saying, the bit that I love is my customers, right? But actually...
No, it's the same here.
I think it's genuinely surprised me how much the customers appreciate what you do, right? And I remember when I first opened the shop and started kind of having people coming in, and people would kind of say, we haven't had a computer shop since blah, 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 and, we've been completely lacking, and we're so happy that you're here. Yeah. And the first couple of times you go, that's a really nice person, right? They're really appreciative. It's really good to kind of hear that thing. But I'm over 2 years in now, and I'm still getting that message.
Yeah.
Still have people coming in, still saying that, right? And then you get, again, for a computer shop, something I never thought I was going to have is regulars.
Yeah.
Right? People who drop in for a social, right?
Yeah.
I've got a couple of people. So there's a gentleman who I won't name because obviously GDPR and kind of all of those things, right? But I have a gentleman who goes for a walk around Ely of an afternoon once a week, and every time he drops in to see me. And yes, I know him because he bought a computer from me. But actually, every week he comes in and we have a little tech chat.
Yeah.
Right. And I love it. Right. It's brilliant. And you can tell he enjoys it as well. Right. And sometimes we're putting the world to rights. Sometimes we're talking tech. Last time he came in, he was telling me all about his holiday and kind of things like that. And, you've got that. And then I've got other regular customers who will come in and see me for 5 minutes. Some people are really, really nice and even bring me cake and coffee. Right. If those of you who are doing so, you know who you are. But the customer base, I have to say 99% of the customer base are absolutely lovely. Yeah. Right. And absolutely brilliant. Right. Yeah. And that to me was the biggest surprise. Is I kind of really expected it to be hey, fix my computer and then I'll never see you again, right? Type of thing. But to have customers who come in just for socials is something I really didn't expect. And that's my biggest surprise and the thing I enjoy the most. Yeah. There's a couple of example customers which I've got that I've done larger pieces of work for, which have been amazing as well. But actually that's kind of the overall thing. It's just customers in general. Yeah.
I think that's what people kind of forget quickly when things become more convenience-based and we have the big out-of-town shopping centres and retail outlets and things like that where you can walk in, get the computer you need or you think you need and leave. It's not just about having that service or that product. It's about the community aspect around there. And I think Ely's one of those places that's been great for that. It's been great for us as well. It's been very, very similar. We've got people that come here just because they want to have a quick pop in the coffee and see how we're doing. In the same way that yesterday or on Saturday I went out for a coffee in town and bumped into a customer here.
Yeah.
And straight away, they're not like, oh, God, it's that bloke who runs that office. They were like, oh, hi, how's everything going? How's your week been? I saw you on social media. You had a really busy Friday. That's great. You know, I'll be in next Tuesday. Can't wait to see you kind of thing. And that's the kind of service you wouldn't get if you worked for or you were one of those, the generic nameless high street brands. And I think Ely as a town, it's maybe suffered a bit of an identity crisis in the past as that typical kind of commuter town, sleepy, where during the week it's almost empty because people are often working in different places and they just come back here for the family and for dinner and to sleep. But it's definitely kind of changing back to that traditional market town that it used to be many years ago. And even I'm noticing it now that when, like on a Friday, we tend to get all our printing done if we ever need anything, whether it's posters or banners or adverts, and I'll pop over to Ely Print Centre. Friday's always the day to do it. And I don't know why, because it's the worst day to go apart from Thursday. I can never park the car. It's always manic, but it's always really busy. And like the high street's really busy again. You think, go back a few years kind of pre-COVID, and the high street would be dead apart from a Thursday. And even then it would be very semi-busy, I would say, as opposed to busy, where now it genuinely seems to be busy every day, regardless of what's going on.
Yeah. And I think there's a few things doing that, right? There's some natural shout-outs to, activities and things that are going on that actually make Ely not just, as you say, not just a place to, eat and sleep, right? But actually a place to do things, right? The weekend activities, the local kind of things, Foodie Fridays.
Yeah, that's a
which
great
is obviously
one,
this week as well. Things like that, which, it really transitions it from just a place to actually a community.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons that we set up this place was the same thing. We didn't want to just be a desk, where someone can pay X amount, turn up for the day, do their work and leave. There's other places like that. There's even a place like that around here now that weren't here before. But we didn't want to be that. In fact, if anything, our desks are kind of the last part of our product. The service here is all about us and the community and how we want to work with, independent businesses, freelancers, sole trade, people like that, and really use this as a space to collaborate and to meet people and for them to network essentially while they're here. So,
I think it's interesting. Everybody knows that the big difference between a corporate and independent is a face.
Yeah.
Right. A corporate is generally faceless. Right. Everybody's heard the kind of stories of, if you call a contact center, you will never speak to the same person twice. If you go into a shop, you're unlikely to see the same person twice. Right?
Yeah.
And there's no kind of follow up, right? And I kind of use the example. Obviously, in my world, it's Curry's PC World. Right?
Yeah.
If you walk into Curry's PC World and you buy a laptop and you walk away from it, and you try and call them afterwards to say, hey, I can't get this set up on my printer, they're not going to help.
No, absolutely.
Right? And for me, like the one thing I say, somebody buys a computer from me, whether it be a gaming machine, whether it be a low-end laptop, whether it be a refurb, whatever, the first thing I say to them is, call me when you need something.
Yeah.
Because you're going to. You've just bought a brand new thing. It's going to be slightly different, right? Don't be scared. I'm here to help.
There's always going to be those moments, isn't there, where it's like, I've got this, I open the box, what do I do?
Yeah, exactly, right? And this is the thing, is that, and that's always going to be the difference, right? I'm talking about it in my business, but it's any independent out there. The difference between an independent and a corporate is they care, they're worried, it's their business reputation, but actually if they didn't care, they probably wouldn't be doing it. They'd probably be working for a corporate.
Exactly, because that's security side of things, isn't it, and everything else. So what advice would you give someone who is in that corporate world right now, but they're thinking of taking the leap, they've got an idea, they've maybe got a business they've always wanted to do, what would you say to them?
I think I go back to the fact that leaving corporate world is scary, right? There's a load of kind of comfort blankets in your holiday time, your salary, sick pay. Like, it's really easy to overvalue those things and kind of say, those are the things which are keeping me here. Yeah. But I also go back to what I said earlier. Your worst case scenario is you go back.
Exactly.
Right? And if you're good at what you do, and you probably are good at what you do if you're thinking about leaving and doing it on your own, you've probably already made a network. You could go and try it for 6 months. And if it doesn't work, make a single phone call and get another job going back to what you're doing. That's your worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Your best case scenario is you build something you love that is absolutely on your terms. And not only then do you make money doing it, maybe you can find some people to employ that let them do what they love as well.
Yeah.
And I think that, to me, that obviously that's my future, right? That's the future plan, is to employ people and give people a living to enable them to do something amazing.
Yeah.
Right. And that really is the aim, is if you think good isn't good enough, start your own business.
Yeah. Exactly. And then as you just briefly touched on there, what is next for you? Do you have any plans you can discuss? Anything that you can mention? Kind of.
So
what kind of growth plans or any changes coming up?
Yeah, plans certainly, right? So anybody who's been in my shop during a busy period will realise I don't have enough space.
Yeah.
I need somewhere bigger, right? And there's kind of things going on which should enable that to happen in the future. I don't have timelines or kind of anything like that, but the plan is to grow. And one of the biggest problems with the place that I'm in at the moment is not just the size for actually doing the work, but actually the size for having people, right?
Yeah.
So, the hope is to kind of go from one to the next, right? Continue doing marketing, continue giving great service, continue really appreciating the customers who kind of refer other people into me for word of mouth, right?
Yeah.
And as that continues to grow, moving into somewhere bigger. And there are products and services that I don't do now that I want to be able to do. My best and most common example is printers.
Yeah.
Like with the shop that I'm in at the moment, I can't sell printers because in order to get printers at a decent price, I need to buy 50 printers.
Yeah, so it's nowhere to put them.
Yeah, exactly, right? So moving somewhere bigger, that means I can carry more stock. If I carry more stock, I can buy them at a better price. I can do more services, and I can pass those savings on to customers, right?
Yeah.
So there's a whole load of things that moving to somewhere bigger is going to enable us to do, and then being able to do those extra things then mean more hands equals employing people, bringing people in. Again, I go back to when I was a 16-year-old who left school, who picked up the phone book and rang every single IT shop in Cambridge and said, hey, I'm 16, I've left school, I'm a hobbyist, I know how to build a PC, can you give me a job?
Yeah.
And I was very lucky that one guy said, yeah, we can.
Amazing.
Right? And I want to be able to do that for somebody else.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. So I think that basically wraps up most of my questions really about this. But to kind of, as a leaving kind of question for you, we've talked about, the kind of advice you would give people leaving corporate world, going to work, and everything. What the more important bit and the things you love more of your customers, what is that one piece of like crucial advice that you think that maybe comes up the most as a question or as an issue or something that you would tell your customers now? Kind of what's that one piece of kind of gold for them?
I think the one thing, and it's probably more about what keeps my what I would say what keeps my customers up at night. Right? Yeah. It's kind of it's almost an old corporate question, right? What keeps you up at night, right? But it's what
everything in a corporate world.
Well, yeah, phone calls, emails. The one thing that I get asked every day is about security.
Yeah.
Right. And I won't shy away from the fact that I have a large demographic of people who are retired.
Right.
Who didn't grow up with computers.
Yeah.
Who started their careers without computers and had to push into it.
Right.
And in this modern world where people who have computers, people who've grown up with computers see red flags.
Yeah.
They'll see an email that comes in that is obviously a scam email or a phishing email and know not to do anything with it.
Yeah.
Right. The older generation don't know that. They grew up on trust.
Yeah.
They grew up knowing all of their neighbors, right? They grew up going into a shop and trusting everything that was being said to them. They trusted that if they got a phone call from BT, that it was from BT.
Yeah, it was BT, the end of the line.
Right. And this is the thing which I deal with on a daily basis, right? Several times a day. And kind of coming onto the advice side of things is just helping, right? My instant kind of nature of the people who are kind of going to listen to this are probably not that demographic.
Yeah.
But actually, it's making sure you're taking care of those people,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
The biggest thing I hear from them is about online banking. They're scared of online banking, and
Yeah,
the
I
banks are
understand that.
closing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Make sure that people that you know who are of that older age are not rocking around with a 15-year-old laptop that is, one, completely slow, but two, incredibly insecure,
Yeah.
right? Because you have a 15-year-old laptop, it's not supported by Microsoft. It's going to have major vulnerabilities on there. Help them just by making sure people are actually using current security software. They're using up-to-date systems,
Yeah.
right? And it's not necessarily about chuck everything away and buy brand new, but actually, go to a computer center, right? Even if you're not from Ely, go to a computer center with, the people I'm not even going to say parents, relatives, or things like that. Even if you're just friends with people.
That's it, just people you know. That,
right? Yeah, exactly. They are the most at risk, right? The worst thing that happens to me on probably a weekly basis is when somebody comes in and says, I've been scammed. My bank has told me to come to you and make sure that my computer is clean.
Yeah.
And it never is.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible thing, right? And actually, a lot of the time I end up not charging those customers. Right?
Yeah.
Just because it's the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. It's you don't want to add insult to injury when
Yeah,
they've already
exactly.
been through enough as it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of time they're going to get the money back because of the bank's insurance and kind of things like that. But
well, it's not overnight though, is it? That's the thing, and it's not easy either. We all know, even from kind of my experiences, it's never a simple phone call and it's all turned around, is it? They've got to jump through some hoops to get there, and it's a traumatic experience for anybody as well. So,
and I think it's the trauma which is the hardest bit for me to deal with. Is you can tell these people become scared of their devices.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that to me is the biggest thing, right? And like I've done online security talks for most of the local groups, right? Probus, kind of things like that, right?
Yeah.
I'll talk to anybody who will listen to me about how to be safer, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm incredibly passionate about it, right? And it means something to me, right? Only last week I was in Roslyn Court, the assisted living location.
Yeah.
Right? Giving a talk to them, right? How do you stay safe, right? And that to me it's the one, if I can get a single message out to everybody in Ely or even just, everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Is make sure your vulnerable people are safe, right? Make sure they're using current systems. Make sure they're using, the right antivirus, things like that.
Yeah.
Right? It's important.
Yeah. And it is so easy. Even say it's they're getting cleverer, these people that are out there. And it is even I've had a few, especially around Christmas time. That's when they really kind of up their game, isn't it? And it's things like even like down to the text message, oh, you've got a delivery outstanding, you missed it, please click this link. And the number of times I've gone, oh, and then had to really back off. And I like to think of myself as quite savvy in that respect. Yeah. But it's getting harder and harder to combat. So
exactly. And as you say, it's from all angles. It's emails, it's phone calls, it's text messages, it's you even have the ones through the post now.
Yeah. That's
right? I think for those of us who are younger, who grew up with it, it's easier for us to stay diligent.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about being a community and looking after each other.
That's it, yeah. Spreading the word to those who might not be online or see these things in the news all the time.
Yeah. Exactly.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been brilliant, like really, really good. And thank you so much again. Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
Before we finish, a little kind of 30-second sales pitch from you, I guess. Like I said, where can we find you online? Where can we find you in person?
So you
sort of put you on the spot.
I would always say come to the shop, right?
Yeah.
Because again, it's a face-to-face service. But come to the shop. We're opposite the Lamb Inn Hotel on Lynn Road, right? Closest parking, St Mary's. You can call us Ely 505-750 or email us help@elycomputercentre.co.uk. But come and see us, right? That's always going to be the best thing, right? Find the time, drop in. We open on Saturdays. So for those people who are kind of the Monday to Friday 9 to 5, we adjust our hours so that you can come in. Come and see us, even if it's just to say hi, talk tech.
Brilliant. Great. Well, thank you very much, Scott.
No worries. Thank you, James.
Pleasure. No worries. Thank you.